go ahead and start recording. So notebooks out, and we are going to jump. We're going to jump right into, oh, come on, where'd it go? Where we left off yesterday. So I would like you guys to take about a minute to 2 minutes. This is what we did yesterday. So write the equation. Notice I'm not giving you guys the equations. I'm giving you information. Know how to write it. And I want them both in slope-intercept form. So about a minute and a half, and I'll start going over this. About 30 more seconds. All right. Real quick, somebody just read off your answer. What'd you get for number one?
Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 1/2.
Perfect. Plus 1/2. Does anybody need to see that? Okay, number two. Somebody else. Give me a different volunteer to read number two. So tell me, what did you get for your slope first?
0 to -4. That may be wrong.
You got your slope as 0?
Oh, no,
Ah.
I do not.
So -2 minus 2. Go ahead, keep going.
Wait, yes, I did.
So when you go -2 minus 2, that's -4 over 3 plus 1, which is 4. So your slope should be -1. And that's okay, Amari. It's actually a common mistake. The two reasons I gave you are the reasons I gave you these two. A, because of a fraction, and a lot of people forget that you have to get a common denominator. So when they did 2 minus 3 halves, a lot of people forgot how to do that. So remember, if you've got 2 minus 3 halves, crash course in fractions, get a common denominator, that's the exact same thing as 4 halves minus 3 halves, and that's how you got a half. So here, a lot of people will glance up and see -2 minus 2 is 0. Not right. It's -2 minus 2 is -4. So your slope is -1, which means we've got y equals. Somebody tell me the answer. What'd you get?
-1x plus 1.
Perfect. All right. Any questions? I'm really trying to save some time. On Monday, we are going to go ahead and do a calculator lesson. I know there's still 1 or 2 people that don't have a calculator. You can always watch this. Now, I'm not even going to, last period I taught this all. This is the exact same thing as number 2, the exact same type of question. I'm going to walk you through this at first so you know that a shirt company charges a setup fee and a certain price for each shirt. So I do kind of want to see where you guys are with this. The setup fee For instance, if I go in as a tennis coach and I order a bunch of shirts, I'll call up Nike and they'll say, yeah, we'll get your design fee, and your design fee is going to cost like $200, and then we'll charge you $6 per shirt. So that setup fee is that initial cost. The price per shirt is your slope. So take this information and see what you can do. Again, I'm going to give you guys about 2 minutes to do this. About 30 more seconds and we'll get started. Okay. So, by the way, I know that a lot of people are sitting here thinking, well, I can do this in my head. Why do I have to show any work? Because they're not always going to be this simple. So, what I want you guys to understand is the whole concept of a dependent and an independent variable. So, you know that 10 shirts cost $25 and 25 shirts is $55. The cost depends on the number of shirts, where your dependent variable is always Y. Your X is your independent variable. So your X should be shirts and your Y is going to be the cost. So I can literally set up 2 ordered pairs. So 10 cost me 25 and 25 cost me 55. And then it's the exact same thing. So find your slope. 55 minus 25 is 30. 25 minus 10 is 15. So my slope is 2. But what does that actually mean in the context of this problem? And that's going to be your price per shirt. So it is $2 per shirt. What's the setup fee? And again, I don't mind you guys using common sense here. If we know that this is linear, it's going to go up at the same rate, and it's got the same setup fee. They don't give it a bulk discount. What's the setup fee going to be? Well, you can use, again, common sense. If it's $2 per shirt and 10 shirts, and I ordered 10 shirts, cost 25, well, the shirts would be $20. So the setup fee would have to be the rest, which would be 5. Same thing here. If I ordered 25 shirts and it's $2 per shirt, that's $50. So the setup fee is 5. Now that initial cost is always your y-intercept, where you start, and how it's changing is your slope. So what's the equation to model this? Y equals 2x plus 5. Any questions? None?
Why wouldn't it be $10 as the y-intercept? Because, like, if you take the $5 from both of them, it's 10.
So these are independent orders, right? So if I order 10 shirts, the cost is $25. So basically that's an ordered pair, right? So you have your number of shirts down here, which we'll get to in a second, number of shirts, and your cost is going to be over here. So I know that 10 shirts cost me $25. And I know that 25 shirts cost me $55, right? So it's going to go up like this. In other words, you know that this is the cost. I can go ahead and do this all out, which I will right here. So if I'm finding my slope, which is 2, and I pick a point, I can just do y minus 25 equals 2x minus 10, distribute. And then add 25. So that's how I get this equation. Okay. So I think that you just kind of put it together. Did that answer your question or no?
Yeah, that helped. Thank you.
Okay. And so especially in this class, it's not that I cut corners, but I try and shave off some things so I don't show every single step. So part of that is I do want you guys to understand I'm not going to show every step unless you stop and you say you have a question, okay? So I'm going to work under the assumption that you guys can do some of this. But of course, anytime you have a question, just stop me or ask, okay? So there's that. Now, this example almost seems too easy, so I almost didn't even put it up here. But remember, we struggle most on the ones that seem the easiest. So you've got a lot of information. And again, you guys don't, on your notes, don't even worry about writing all these words down. Make sure that you know how to do the math. So this graph shows the distance that that asteroid travels in x seconds. Write an equation of the line and interpret the slope. Then it said that asteroid came within 17,200 miles of Earth back in February 2013. So how long would it take the asteroid to travel that distance? A lot of people get confused by this. This is talking about how fast it travels. So if it hasn't started, if we haven't started the clock yet, we can't really measure it. So at 0, 0, that's one of our points. And then 5 seconds later, when my x is 5, that's your time. When 5 seconds later, it has traveled 24 miles. Yeah, that thing is moving. By the way, did anybody actually watch this summer? Did they watch the takeoff, I forget, the something X takeoff, SpaceX takeoff launch?
I watched it.
Wasn't that cool? And to see that they're going like, what was it, 12,000 miles an hour or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. So you're talking realistically, when you're talking about space travel or things traveling out there, this is realistic. So in 5 seconds, that asteroid has traveled 24 miles. That is your slope. Remember, slope is rise over run. So it went up 24 and over 5. If you did not have this graph with you, you pick any 2 points that are on here and find your slope. So if I've got the point at the origin, 0, 0, and 5, 24, well, it's real simple. 24 minus 0 over 5 minus 0. So it is 24 over 5. But put the context back in. Make sure that you understand what that means. That means it is traveling 24 miles every 5 seconds. So that is the slope. Now we can do this a bunch of different ways. It says write an equation of the line and interpret the slope, right? Well, my y-intercept is 0, so I simply have this, where x is your time and y is miles, or your distance. So wait a minute. Now answer the other part. How long would it take for the asteroid to travel 17,200 miles? Take about 90 seconds and try it on your own. Okay. Somebody please walk me through how in the world did you do this?
Well, if miles is the y, I just put the 17,200 miles as the y, equals 24 over 5x, and solved from there, and I got 3,583.3 repeating seconds.
And that's exactly right. So again, this is the whole reason why we write stuff like this. It might seem kind of silly, like, man, why are we having to keep writing this? Because when we actually get into real life examples, or we put some context with it, we start to forget what's what. So time is your x, y is your miles. So I want to know after how much time, what's my x going to be when my miles or my y is 17,200. Now, part of the reason I put this up here is a lot of people say, oh, I fractions, what do I do with the fraction? Well, if I'm multiplying 24 over 5, 24 fifths by x, I would divide by 24 fifths, but when you divide by a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal. So it's the same as multiplying by 5 and dividing by 24. And what answer did you get again?
3,583.3 repeating.
3 repeating, of course. All right. Now, make sure you put the label. And what is that? Those are seconds. By the way, if you want to know how many minutes away that would have taken if that was headed towards Earth, how would I find that?
Divide by 60.
That's right. So under an hour, and that thing's going to hit Earth. So some people are saying, man, why are they blowing this out of proportion? It's 17,000 miles away. Because that's less than an hour away from hitting Earth. That's crazy. All right. So next one, and we're almost done. We've only got 3 examples to do today. I'm not trying to burn you guys out, and you do have an assignment here. Next one. Again, I want to see where you guys are right now. So I'm not trying to not teach you, but this is something that almost straight off of iStep. And this is from our book, but I saw something like this on iStep 2 years ago, almost the exact same question. So see if you can take about 2 minutes and answer these 2 questions down here at the bottom. Which venue charges less per student, and how many must attend for the total cost to be the same? Now, I'm going to stretch real quick. I will be back in about 90 seconds to answer any questions. All right. Any questions so far?
I don't know how to set this up.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you guys through this a little bit. So I'm sure you've read through here. The prom venue charges a rental fee plus a fee per student. Before we even do this, so the rental fee plus a fee per student. Per is an indicator that that's going to be your slope. So one-time rental fee, the rental fee is your y-intercept, and the fee per student is your slope. So we read the rest of this, the total cost in dollars for X students. That means my cost here at Sunview Resort is going to be $10 per student with an initial fee of $600. So at Sunview, my slope is going to be $10 or 10, which is $10 per student. And that also means that that 600 is my rental fee. Does that make sense? So down here, and I know this is kind of a jump from what we just did, but instead of just giving you 2 points, now I've given you 5 points. Again, if this is linear, we're working under the kind of the assumption, because I didn't say this, that there's not going to be a bulk discount. Like if you get over 100 students, then we'll drop the fee. So both of them have a set rental fee and a set price per student. Well, they went ahead here at Sunview and they gave us the equation. At Lakeside Inn, they just gave us kind of a table like, well, if you have 100, it's going to cost this. If you've got 125, it's going to cost this. You can pick any 2 points you want, and then you find the slope, which means these are all ordered pairs. So that 100, 1500 looks just like this. And I can pick any other point here I want to. Well, I could do this one and this one, or I could do this one and this one. It doesn't really matter. Now, let's just say, let's keep it closer together. So it's difference of the y's over difference of the x's. So all I have to do is find the slope. Sorry. So when I'm trying to find the slope, I will do 1800 minus 1500 over 125 minus 100. So it's the exact same math, just a different look at it. Remember, if this is my x and this is my y, these are really nothing more than ordered pairs. So you just find the slope, difference of the y's over difference of the x's. So I've got 300 over 25, which is 12. But again, what does that mean? If you guys write this out, it's the difference of y's or the cost for every student. Now I'm going to slow down real quick. Any questions? And I could have picked any 2 points up here. It didn't matter. I could have gone from 200 to 100 or 200 to 150. I could have even gone from 100 to 150. All right. So let's write the equation. Again, I said that these are ordered pairs. So let's use the one that looks the easiest. I know that my slope is 12, and this is what I've got. That's my x and my y. I can go ahead and do, and I know you guys all yesterday said you're doing y equals mx plus b, so let's do it. So 1500 equals my m x plus b. Subtract 1200. So my b value is 300. So let's go ahead and write the equation, and then I'll stop and see what questions we have again. So $12 per student plus, what's that mean? Plus a $300 setup fee. Any questions about that? Okay. So let's look at this again. Answer the questions. Which venue charges less per student? Well, Sunview charges $10 per student and Lakeside charges $12. So the answer to the first one would be Sunview. Remember, if this were a standardized test, explain your answer. Don't just say Sunview. Sunview charges less because they charge $10 per student and Lakeside charges $12 per student. Now the second part, how many students must attend for the total cost to be the same? This is kind of a leading question because we are getting into next week systems of equations, but you can actually set this up without using a system. So it said how many students would have to attend for the cost to be the same, right? Well, if cost is my y, I want my y's to be the same. In other words, I just set these two equations equal to each other. So 10x plus 600, so this equation has to be the same as this one. Any questions there? I'm not going to show the math, but I'll walk you through it. So get x on the same side by subtracting 10x. Subtract 300. Divide by 2. And there is your answer. How many students must attend for the cost to be the same? 150. Make sure you put the label students. Again, if this were a standardized test, you would say it would take 150 students for the cost to be the same, and the cost would be, and then you just plug it back in, or in this case, you could just go back and look at the table, or the cost would be $2,100. Now, last example, sorry, any questions? Last example. Eek. Now on Monday, I'm going to show you how to do this on your calculator. You also need to know how to do this on your own without a calculator. Take a second, read it, and look at the table. So this is showing femur lengths in centimeters, which are your x's, and your height in centimeters, that's the y. Remember, this is your y-axis and your x-axis. So your x is going to be the length of, and make sure you label them, it's going to be femur length. And this has to be your height. Now notice that this is a blank graph. There's nothing out here at all. You have a choice. Now, there's really no wrong answer in your choice unless you're not going by even increments. So if you go, for instance, you can go up 1 each time, or you could go up 2 each time, or you could go up 5 each time, or 10 or 50 or 100, it doesn't matter. But one thing you don't want to do is for this to say, I want this one to be 1, and this one to be 3, and then I want this one to be 7. Now all of a sudden it's not telling us anything. So your increments have to be the same. Now not up and down and left and right, but on the bottom, if I start by going up 2, I have to always go up 2. If I start by going up 5, I have to always go up 5. Now, before we find this, I want you to carefully look at these numbers. So all of these numbers, I see that my absolute lowest value here is 30, which means I do not need this to be 0. Or if that point really is 0, I need to show a broken graph. What a broken graph looks like just means I know that I don't want my graph to be huge if all my data is going to be higher. So a broken graph is going to have like a little squiggly mark here and then go back down. So this still represents 0. It's just saying we're going to take off those first few numbers. And the same thing, I can do it over here, broken graph. And that's just saying I'm taking off some of those first few numbers. In other words, that broken graph is saying I'm not trying to throw you off or skew the data. But I know that all my data is going to be up here, so I kind of want to throw this off. I'll throw it out, all right? So looking at that, knowing my lowest is 30, I'm going to put in kind of a little squiggle just showing that these are going to be broken graphs. My lowest amount is going to be 30. If I see that my highest amount is 50, then I just need to make sure that 50 is somewhere on here. Now, I don't want to go 30, 40, 50 because then all of my data would be wrapped up. All of my data would be wrapped up in this range, and it's too hard to tell. So instead, try and space it out. Let's see, what if I go up by 2s? So 30, 32, and then I'll just write it in 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46. Did I do that right? 48, yeah, 50. Same thing over here. I've got a broken graph because I didn't see 0. I don't see anything below 100. In fact, it looks like 141 is our lowest. So if I start here at 140, then I go up by 5s. It looks like 195 is my highest. So if I go up by 5s, 145, 150, 155, 160, 65, 170, 185, 190, 195. Okay. All you have to do is plot the point. So when x is 40, y is 170. So 40, 170 looks like it's about here. By the way, doing this by hand, while it's decent, this is kind of a best guess. We're talking about line of best fit. This is not an exact science. So somebody's like, well, shouldn't you move it over a little bit? Yeah, probably should. But it doesn't really matter. I'll show you how to make it exact on the calculator. So 45, 183. So 45, 183 looks like about right here. 32, 151 is about right here. 50, 195, about right there. 37, 162, so 37, 162. Now I'm going to stop real quick because the first question was, does the data show a linear relationship? Well, so far, absolutely. It looks like all of this data is in a straight line. We can start to make a prediction, and that's what a linear relationship looks like. Doesn't mean is it exactly a straight line. Does it show a linear relationship? Which basically, can I use this to make a prediction? What would I expect? The longer the femur length, the taller somebody is. Makes sense. I've got longer leg bones. I would expect somebody to be taller. Now, let's keep going. So where am I at? 37, 162. Nope, already did that. 41, 174. About right here. 30, 141. About right here. 34, 151. 47, 185. And then 45, 182. That's already almost there. Okay. These are the last two things we're doing, and then we're done, so I'll get you out of here right on time. So when we are drawing a line of best fit, remember, this is a broken graph. So we can't just assume that that's going to be my y-intercept, but I want my line to go evenly through this in about the same manner, right? So in about the same direction. So just kind of practicing with this. When I draw this, I want to try and go through at least 2 points. but I want the same amount of dots above it and below it if I can, and go through as many as possible. So I don't want to be too up here. That's kind of misleading. I don't want to be too far down here. Again, that's misleading. It's not an exact science doing this by hand. But I'm going to kind of play with this because I think something like that is pretty good. Now, we all might have different answers when we do this. As long as it's close, that's fine. So it says, write an equation of a line of fit and use it to estimate somebody whose femur is 35 centimeters long. Okay. I can pick any 2 points that I see that this goes through or where I see that it hits. For instance, now I know that's not exact. It's not an exact science. I'm going to pick this point. It looks like it's going through the point 3140. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a point as long as it's very close. And another one that I see, well, it looks like that is about 46,185. Or 45,180. Let's make it 45,180. Yeah. And somebody's got to say, why am I picking those points? Because it looks like my line is going right through those points, which were 45,180. I could also go through and see, well, it hits one close to here, which I could use these exact ones. So I could use 3141 and then 45,182. I could use the exact points. The whole point of this is it's line of best fit. So I really want to go with the equation of the line so it doesn't have to be exact. So find your slope, 180 minus 140, 45 minus 30 equals 8/3. How do you find your y-intercept? Again, pick any point that this goes through. Well, how about this one? That's nice and clean. We got 4170. Y equals mx plus b. Do the math. So 320 divided by 3. So 320 divided by 3 plus b. By the way, you can use a decimal here. So my decimal would be 106.67. Is that right? I don't think so. 320 divided by 3. Yeah. So then I've got 63.23 is my b value, and now you've got an equation. We're almost done. Now, I do not like this equation, and in fact, I won't even accept this when we get back in person. Why not? Because I can't have a fraction and a decimal at the same one. Either both fractions or both decimals, which in other words means turn this into a decimal. There's your equation. Then answer the question. So estimate the height of a person whose femur is 35 centimeters long. Well, femur length is X, so I would just plug in 35 for this and then answer the question. Now, that actually went way longer than I wanted it to take. Your homework tonight is on big ideas. You have 10 questions. It's due Monday at 8:30. And we'll do stuff like that one. We'll do that in the calculator on Monday. All right. Any questions at all?
I don't understand how you found B.
How I found B?
Mm-hmm.
So when on this, by finding B, I knew what my slope is, right? and I just picked any point that this looked like it went through. So I could have picked the point 3140, and then same thing. So I could have done that. So if I've got 3140, now this will be close, but a little bit different. And my slope is 8/3. That's what we did at the very beginning. I've got a point and a slope, so I could have done either y-intercept form or point slope form to find it. So all of the math that we've actually done here is the exact same thing as what we were doing yesterday. Did that help or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So I know that this is not an exact science. On Monday, you just have to kind of know what it is and where these numbers are coming from. On Monday, have your calculator. I will walk you through this on your calculator and show you how much easier this can be. Now, you could always do it by hand, but the calculator becomes exact. So bell's going to ring any second. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Get your homework done. Your grades should be updated by the end of the day. So peace and love. See you guys.